Hello students. Today we shall study Rabindranath Tagore's drama entitled Sacrifice. Rabindranath Tagore is a highly acclaimed modernist writer. Are you aware of any works written by Tagore?
He wrote the Gitanjali, he got a Nobel Prize for that novel.
Yeah, that is right. Rabindranath Tagore's Gitanjali was highly acclaimed internationally, and he was in fact the first Asian to be awarded the Nobel Prize. Tagore was also known for writing good dramas. Some of the dramas that he has written are Post Office, Chitra, The Red Oleander, Home and the World. Now, when we talk about a writer like Tagore, we must bear in mind that he was a great educationist, he was a great social reformer, and he had the art of composing songs. Have you heard of Rabindranath Sangeet?
Yes.
Rabindranath Sangeet, has about 2000 songs. Would you like to say something about Rabindranath Sangeet?
Actually, I heard in my home city.
Yes.
There is an auditorium that named Ravindra Bhavan.
Ravindra Bhavan, yes.
Yeah.
He actually composed and set to music 2000 songs. And these songs today are popularly known as Rabindra Sangeet. So this is the writer we are going to study today. A great writer like Tagore, internationally acclaimed, and a man who was very interested in India, the social background and the problems that confronted our society. The last part of the drama Sacrifice has been prescribed for your study. Now, before we look at the drama, shall we look at the list of characters involved in this drama? Yes. Now, the first character in this drama, you can write down the name, is a king, and his name is Govinda. Then there is the queen. Her name is Gunavati. Then there is the prince, Nakshatra. Then you have the temple priest. His name is Raghupati. Then you have the servant of the temple, and his name is Jai Singh. Finally, you have Aparna, who is a beggar girl. Now, in addition to these major characters, you have a man called Nayan Rai. Nayan Rai, he is a general. Then you have ministers, and then you have soldiers. Remember that the drama we are studying is only an extract. You don't have the entire drama. You have just the conclusion or the last part of the drama entitled Sacrifice, and these are the major characters. Now, let me tell you a little about the setting of the drama. Where is the drama set? The setting is, and you can write it down, in the Kali temple in Tripura. Tripura is a place in the northeast of India. Okay, there the venue is the temple of the goddess Kali. So, this is where the setting of the drama takes place. Now, shall we look at the plot of the drama? Yes, now let me focus your attention to the plot of the drama. In the first scene, you have the priest. What is the name of the priest? Raghupati. Raghupati is the name of the priest, and he enters the scene along with the prince Nakshatra. Both of them enter the scene, and they are talking in a whisper. What are they whispering about? They are whispering about a boy, and this boy has been kept secretly by them in the room of the temple. His hands and feet have been bound, and this boy is weeping. Now, why does this boy weep? This boy weeps because he is going to be sacrificed to the goddess Kali. He is going to be sacrificed by the priest Raghupati in connivance with the prince Nakshatra. So, I would like you to visualize in your minds, okay, the temple, the boy brought in secretly, he is confined in the room inside the temple. The priest and the prince are now trying to offer him as sacrifice. The title of the drama is sacrifice. They are going to offer him as sacrifice to appease the wrath of the goddess Kali. Are you able to understand it so far? Now, it is a stormy night. It is a stormy night. Please remember, we are doing drama. And in a drama, you have to have all these effects. So you have the storm raging outside, and you have now the priest and the prince in a hurry to sacrifice the boy. Now you might be wondering, why are they in a hurry? They are in a hurry because they want to do it secretly without the knowledge of the king. In certain kingdoms, you cannot carry out any task without getting prior permission from the king especially. Now these two have connived together, and they have now decided to sacrifice this boy without the knowledge of the king. Now Nakshatra, the prince, is a little nervous. He is a little nervous, but Raghupati, the priest, encourages him. And he says, don't get afraid, Nakshatra, we can do the work very well, and don't think the boy will escape, because the prince thinks that the boy might escape. So the priest tells him, how can the boy escape when we have bound him in the room of the goddess? So the boy has no scope of escaping. So in this manner they discuss, and the prince feels it is better to postpone the shedding of blood. He feels it is better to postpone. So what does the priest do? Raghupati tells him, I think we should carry out the task quickly, otherwise the goddess will be angry with us. And he says, come Nakshatra, I have wine. I have not ordinary wine, I have consecrated wine. What is the meaning of consecrated? Consecrated means that wine that has been offered to a god or goddess. Consecrate means to make holy. So the priest tells the prince, do not be afraid, you come and have this consecrated wine, and then we will carry out our task quickly. However, the prince is still hesitant. He is still hesitant and he does not know what to do. Now, the priest tells him, he says, Nakshatra, things appear difficult only in the mind. When you actually perform the deed, it is easier. So he says, you should wipe away any kind of fear in your mind, and you should gather the courage to sacrifice this boy to the priest, to the goddess. Why should we sacrifice the boy to the goddess? Because the goddess Kali has been shrieking and asking for blood. She says, my anger will not abate unless I get blood, human blood, she says. So that is why these two have a secret understanding to sacrifice this boy to the goddess. Now, just as they are about to commit the sacrifice, suddenly the king walks in. King Govinda walks in. How did he come to know about the sacrifice? The guard on duty kept a careful watch. There were the guards on duty, and without their knowledge, those guards were listening to all their talk, even though they were talking in whispers. So they go and inform the king, and the king descends on the scene with his soldiers, and he says, arrest Raghupati the priest. So when Raghupati is arrested, the king pronounces the sentence. He says, now the priest will be punished for a period of 8 years, and I will send him away in exile because he is guilty of a crime. Now, how do you think the priest reacts? The priest does not feel guilty at all. He tells the king, Your Highness, my mistake was that I did not perform the sacrifice earlier. I delayed because the goddess was asking for blood, but I somehow delayed the sacrifice. And then, in this point of the drama, we come to the concept of caste. The priest tells the king, in a very sarcastic manner, he says, you king, you may be a Kshatriya, you may be of royal blood, but remember, I am a Brahmin. Therefore, your caste is lower than mine. And then very sarcastically he tells the priest, okay, you may be a great king, and you think I am like a worm hiding in the dust. He is being very, very sarcastic. Now what does the king do? He next goes to the prince Nakshatra, And unlike the priest, Nakshatra, he feels very sorry. And he says, "Oh king, I am so sorry I have committed the crime." So the king says, "Nakshatra, even you are guilty of crime. You also have to be punished." So the king pronounces the sentence. What does he say? He says, "You, Nakshatra, you shall live for a period of 8 years in exile. You will be allotted a house beside the river, outside the limits of Tripura." By this time, the priest Raghupati gets an idea. And he tells the king, "Oh king, will you please grant me one request?" When the king asks him what it is, he says, "Can you give me one more day of freedom before you execute your sentence?" And the king says, "All right, I will give you that request. I will grant you that request." Now, the prince Nakshatra accepts the sentence that is being given to him, and then the king feels very sorry for him. The king says, he puts his arm around Nakshatra and he says, "You are like my own family. I feel really sorry to send you away." And in the drama, you have the quotation. The king says, "Your vacancy will be felt a great deal in the palace, and your absence will prick my heart like 1,000 needles." So this part of the drama, you find the king not only carrying out his duties, whatever he has to do in the capacity of a king, but you find that he is a very sensitive, a gentle person who loves his people. So in this part of the drama, you find that the sentence is now going to be carried out. The king leaves the scene, and this is how the first part of the drama concludes. In the next scene, you find the temple priest. Can you tell me his name? Raghupati. Now, Raghupati enters the scene in the company of Jai Singh. You remember Jai Singh? Yeah, who is Jai Singh? Yeah, he was a servant of the temple. Do you remember that young boy who was bound with his hands in the room? Now, Jai Singh had come into the temple at the same age. When Jai Singh was a young boy, he was brought into the temple like that. So the prince and the priest remember the time. And they say it was the same stormy night when even Jai Singh entered the temple as a boy. And they remember how he cried. They remember his tear-stained face. And they remember the innocent look on his face. So now what has happened is the temple priest has become very close to Jai Singh. He has become close. And in this scene, you will find the king telling Jai Singh, he says, "Jai Singh, see, now I have become a fallen Brahmin. I am like a lost star. And you see, Jai Singh, because I have lost my position, I am even ready to fall at your feet." He feels very humiliated because he thought he was a priest and he thought he was of a very high caste. So he could not understand how he could be put through so much humiliation. So when he actually tries to fall at Jai Singh's feet, the servant's heart is touched. And he says, "You priest, please don't do that. When I see you in anguish, my heart becomes troubled." Do you remember the priest had asked for 1 day? You know why he asked for that 1 day? Because in that 1 day's time, again without the king's knowledge, he wanted to offer blood to the goddess. Satisfy her quench, satisfy her thirst for blood. So now Jai Singh understands the situation very well. He understands that the priest Raghupati is in trouble because unless he appeases the goddess, he thinks the goddess will be angry with him. So Jai Singh now takes a decision, he makes a decision. He says, "Do not worry, I will go and bring the kingly blood." He tells the priest, "You leave it to me, you please don't worry." Because the priest tells him, "Today I want the place to be red with kingly blood." So Jai Singh says, "Okay, I will do it." Then the priest tells Jai Singh, Jai Singh, I am not only a priest, I am like a father to you. And in fact, I am more than a father to you because you are an orphan boy. So in you, I see my son." Now you find very dramatically, Jai Singh rushing out of the scene, promising to return very soon with kingly blood. The storm still continues. Please remember this. There is still the storm raging outside. It is raging fiercely. And Jai Singh goes out to bring kingly blood. Now, in the meanwhile, do you remember the character Aparna? She is a beggar girl, yes. She walks into the scene looking for Jai Singh. Now, obviously, she is in love with Jai Singh. So, she has come to inquire his whereabouts. So, as soon as she comes in, what does the priest do? He drives her away from there. He tells her, go away, do not come here. Because you know, the priest does not like to see a beggar girl in the temple premises. So, as she is driven away, now you find again the priest. And you find now at this stage Jai Singh coming rushing in. And he says, I now have the kingly blood ready to offer to the goddess. She wants only kingly blood, isn't it? I will give her the kingly blood. And with that, I think she will be completely satisfied and she will not ask for any more blood to be shed. The priest looks at the Jai Singh, thinking that, you know, he has brought some blood with him in a container. But very dramatically, what Jai Singh does is, he stabs himself with a sword. He dies and falls to the ground, and all his blood falls on the floor. Now, when the priest sees this, there is a great transformation in him. There is a great transformation, because now he wants Jai Singh to come back to life at any cost. Again, Aparna comes in looking for Jai Singh. This time, the priest does not drive her away. He tells, come Aparna, come, please come, and try to bring this boy back to life with the help of the goddess. The priest himself appeals to the goddess, saying, oh great Kali, can you bring this boy back to life? Nothing happens. The man remains on the floor, blood streaming down his body. The priest is shocked, and there is Aparna, you know, Aparna is weeping and wailing and moaning because she cannot bear to see the sight of Jai Singh lying in a pool of blood. Now we come to the climax of the drama. The climax of the drama. And what is the climax? The priest now takes a great dislike for his actions earlier. Do you remember earlier? The priest was very keen to appease the goddess. The priest was even ready to defy the orders of the king and offer sacrifice. Now he changes so completely that he tells the goddess, you are only a stone. You have no capacity to bring people back to life. You are only deceiving people by being a stone image. And saying this, he takes the image of the goddess Kali, he breaks it on the ground. It breaks in the ground and he walks into the courtyard, you know, very angry, because now he could not bear the fact that Jai Singh was offered a sacrifice. Now, when he rushes into the courtyard, the king comes in. Do you remember the king's name? Yes. Govinda. Govinda comes running in. You know, he says, what is this blood I see? Whose blood is this I see? Then behind the king, you find the queen. Her name is Gunavati. Do you remember? Yes. And she says, oh, I am ready to offer my own blood to the goddess. Very dramatically she says. Then the king asks, where is the goddess? The priest replies, the goddess is nowhere in the temple. They look for the image of the goddess. It is not there. So the king says, she is nowhere to be found, because now she is satisfied having sucked the blood of humans. And he points out to the body of Jai Singh. You know, the king is very shocked because the body lies there, and finally the priest Raghupati has the last word. And he says, I think after offering this kingly blood, the goddess's anger will be appeased. Then the final scene in the drama is, the priest calls the beggar girl Aparna, and he tells Aparna, I think the goddess has entered your heart. From today onwards, you are my child. And he looks at Jai Singh and says to everyone present there, this is the last gift of the goddess to me. Aparna, the beggar girl whom I earlier despised, I find the heart of the goddess in her. On this note, the drama concludes. I have so far explained to you this last crucial scene of Tagore's drama, Sacrifice. Were you able to understand the action, the characters? Now we shall spend a little time analyzing the drama. When Tagore wrote the drama Sacrifice, he had in mind two things. The first of these is that Tagore makes a distinction between rituals, tradition, blood sacrifice versus spirituality, or what we call the essence of religion. This is the first point we have to analyze in the drama. The second point we will look at is how does Tagore view caste and class. Now let us look at the first point. How do we make a distinction between rituals, sacrifice, and in this drama we are looking at blood sacrifice. Tagore expresses the fact that he strongly condemns blood sacrifice in the name of religion. Now in the drama you find the goddess Kali. How is she depicted? She is depicted wearing a garland of human skulls. And in the drama we are told that she shrieks and shouts so loudly that it appears as if the stars from the sky will fall down. It appears as if the branches of the trees would crackle. Tagore in this drama Sacrifice impresses on the reader a very important point. For example, I will give you a line from the poem Gitanjali where he says, "Stop this chanting and telling of beads in the temple." He tells people God need not necessarily be found only in buildings. He says God can be found with poor people. God can be found with simple people. So he says, where the workman toils, where the poor suffer, there you will find the presence of God. So in this drama Sacrifice, you find Tagore's philosophy, surfacing very clearly. Please don't think that Tagore is against God and religion. Tagore is only pointing out the fact that people generally give more importance to the ritualistic aspects of religion. They don't focus on the core of religion. So this is what he is trying to prove in the drama Sacrifice. For example, look at the priest. Shall we look at Raghupati? Yeah. Now when we look at the priest, what do we find? The priest was very keen to appease the goddess. You remember that. But when the sacrifice became Jaising, there you find a great change in the priest. He does not want his son, adopted him because he's an orphan. He does not want him to be offered as sacrifice. In fact, that sacrifice opens his eyes. And then he realizes that what he has done so far was wrong. Remember that the priest and all the characters in the drama are the mouthpiece of the writer. So Tagore condemns or is against violence, bloodshed, sacrificing of human blood, animal blood. And you remember Jaising, he says, I am a Kshatriya. I am giving you kingly blood, he tells the goddess. Now do you think he does it gladly? He does it in an act of defiance, because he tells the goddess, if you are so thirsty, you take my blood, so that after this you will not trouble people anymore. So he sees his action as a final sacrifice. So I want you to understand that Tagore makes a very clear distinction between religious rituals, tradition, sacrifice and spirituality, the way we should practice religion. Now the second point we have to analyze in this drama is caste. Now we know that in our country, as per the Hindu caste system, we have 4 castes. Can you tell me what the 4 castes are? First you have the Brahmin, then you have the Kshatriya, then you have the Vaishya, and then you have the Sudra. What is Tagore's comment on caste? For example, when the king pronounces a sentence, Raghupati, the temple priest, what does the priest tell him? He tells the king so clearly, you are of a lower caste than me. He does not say, I am of a high caste. He tells the king, you are of a lower caste. So what is Tagore's comment? Please remember, Tagore was a great social reformer, like Raja Ram Mohan Roy. You've heard of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. He talked against Sati, where a woman had to burn herself, literally jump into the fire after the death of her husband. So like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Tagore was also a great social reformer, and he did not subscribe to the ideology of caste and class. He wanted to bring about, a great change in our society, where people would not refer to distinctions of class and caste. That is why in this drama, Sacrifice, he puts it across very dramatically. He puts these things across very dramatically. But we have seen just the last scene. So those of you who are interested, I think you should read the complete drama, Tagore's Sacrifice, because they are so relevant to the social ethos of our country. In our country we have caste. Abroad you have color. You have racism in other countries.